Well, that didn't go according to plan, did it? Wow, 52-21. One of those ones where my little daughter was sick last night, so I didn't get to watch the game live. I'm kind of happy I didn't. But then, because I'm a sicko, I decided to watch it back at around 5 o'clock in the morning. And yeah, that wasn't the smartest thing I've ever done in my life. Still, welcome to the Bear Down Abroad podcast with me, Ant, back in Gothenburg, relaxing myself, getting ready for what can only be described as an epic Ant Rants coming. So, before we get started, I'm going to get talking to Kaitlin Sharkey in around half an hour. Tony, hit the music.
Guys, welcome back. And you're far too happy, man. I am not in a dancing mood at all today. I am not a dancing bear.
Well, it's not. It's. I'm used to it. It's just I'm used to it. I didn't think it would get as bad, but sure, look, it got bad early, so I suppose that's a positive. We didn't get the hopes up and the dreams up that we normally do supporting this team from way over here.
It's the hope that kills you, though, man. It is, because
it is the hope.
we thought coming into last week's total debacle in that fourth quarter, going into week 2, we think, you know what, right? The offense will get better. It must get better, and it did, to be fair. But we didn't expect that epic fallout from the defense, man. That was just so frustrating in so many levels, and I know we're going to get into that just now, but it was so excruciating watching that game last night. And I honestly, when I got into like the third quarter, at that point I was just like, why am I even watching this anymore? Like, I've spent hours talking about this team over the last week, and I'm sitting watching this shite, and honest to God, man, it was just so frustrating. And Dean, you say it here. I think we're all deranged following this team. I think we are as well. I don't know. We've been covering the Bears in this sense for what, 4 years, 5 years, something like that.
5 years.
Talking about them week in, week out. We've been following the Bears for God knows how long. But it just goes to show you, like, we are proper fans, because imagine sitting through this in any other situation. It's just bizarre. But yes, we are deranged.
This is why I find it. When I was a child, right, everyone in my school either supported Liverpool or Manchester United in soccer, as you call it in America, right? And I always felt, because I'm a West Ham fan for my absolute sins, because they're shite as well. But like for the absolute like glory that they got, I never got that. So I always kind of felt a little bit like they weren't real fans. I feel the same with like the likes of Kansas City Chiefs recently, or the Green Bay Packers or the Eagles or something like that, where, we're having a shit season because we only won 9 games. You haven't the clue. You absolutely haven't a clue. So yeah, I don't know what I'm feeling last night. What I am happy with, though, is our community in the Bear Down Abroad podcast, with the likes of Lee and Dean and all these other people that jump on and get involved. You're the reason we do this. You're the reason we come on here on a Monday in a freezing cold Gothenburg for me, and I'm assuming a freezing cold Glasgow for you. But anyone else that's listening on Twitter, come on over. Come over and talk to us. We're here to listen. We're like therapy sessions. We've been through this before. We've all this experience flying out. So let's go. Can I start with something good, though?
You want to start good? Right.
Good.
Right. I thought we were going to go right into a rant. I've been looking forward to that all day, but okay, let's go with the good.
No, because I go with this first, then the rant. Roma Dunze look good.
He did look good. He did.
Roma Dunze, 3 touchdowns when everyone else falls apart. Roma Dunze looks like wide receiver 1. So much so that there may be talk of DJ Moore getting shipped off, which I'm not saying we should. I'm just saying that Roma Dunze look good. I think finally, because I wanted to see that aggression. I wanted to see that playmaking ability. And the first touchdown took it really well. Great pick from, or great pass from Caleb. Unbelievably, there was a bit of protection for him. And looked, and then Stephen, the second touchdown, overall all night, he looked decent. So yeah, fair play to Roma Dunze.
Yeah, absolutely. I think going into this season, we'd both said that we kind of
I don't.
expected
Sorry,
Lindsay.
I don't like Lee anymore. Lee, you're done. That's 2 in 2 weeks, kid.
Um, we both expected Roma Dunze to hopefully get more of the targets, and kind of become that wide receiver one. And we are starting to sort of see that. It seems that certainly yesterday he was Caleb's kind of preference with the passes, and it might have been a preference, it might have been the way it worked out, whatever. Either way, the lad got open, and he delivered, and statistically very, very good. If you got him in your fantasy team, you'd have been delighted with the points that you got with him yesterday. So I think absolutely he's been phenomenal. Interesting talking point, and we can definitely go into that more today as well. As DJ Moore, would you consider moving him on? Because if you think about it, if Roma Dunze is going to be your number one target, your number one receiver, hopefully Luther Burden starts to actually get involved in games. Like your top picks should do. Like second round picks, you would think that they would be more involved in your game plan than they actually are. And your first round picks.
Or
Now that
even
we're
on
on
the
that.
field.
Yeah. So yeah, Luther Burden, and then you've got if Loveland starts getting involved in games, then you've got him as well as your receiving threats. Bears could be in a good situation, so it might be something that's not actually that daft, and it's not a fall. It's not like a total overreaction on our part to yesterday. I think it's just one of those things that maybe makes sense in some level. But yeah, definitely some good things yesterday. But listen, I say it already. I'm here for a rant. Okay, so I want to hear it.
Let's
So
go.
let's just get straight into that.
I swear to God, I've had enough of this shite.
And
And I
take it away.
start, or I should start. I will say this. I always thought Ryan Pauls. I was a Ryan Pauls fan. Everyone knows that when I was doing their shows. I actually liked some of the stuff that was coming out of him. I liked the direction he was doing, and I thought that was really good. Thought it was really impressive. But oh my God. Is he, this is a real genuine question, which is amazing. I'm going to say this. Who's worse? You put it up on Twitter. Ryan Pauls or Ryan Pace? Because, oh my God, the amount of misses that this guy has got. I'm not holding back on Ben Johnson involved in this because he was also in the room. But, like, you look what the Colts have done with Warren, who was right there at 10. Not saying that we shouldn't have taken Loveland. He was right there at 10. So the Colts did. They took him in at whatever number they got, and they turned around and they brought in and they schemed him up. They've got him involved in both games. He's done, yeah, I think it was 45, 50 yards yesterday. There was things gone to him again the week before. We have done nothing. We've literally done nothing with our picks. So yesterday, Turner was inactive, second round pick. Amagaje was inactive from the year before, third round pick. Trapillo was also inactive, second round pick. And then the guys that were active, Colson Loveland, one target. Luther Burden, no targets, I don't think. Same for the week before. So what's he doing? Kyle Manungai, seventh round, the only running back we picked. And everyone talked him up, and even was talked up again by Ben Johnson during the week. Gets it in like the fourth quarter when the game is done and dusted. On a 4th and 1 play, twice they went with a quarterback sneak when they have a running back to give the ball to. Even Roshan Johnson wasn't even given that opportunity. There's so many things wrong with this franchise, but I don't know what else you can say about the inability to pick properly. I'm not even talking about some of the second round picks on the likes of Montez Sweat, on Chase Claypool, and all this money that we spent on. We're giving 60 million to DJ Moore and Montez Sweat. 60 million. Where's the production? Where's the actual production from any of them? And that falls, unfortunately, on a GM. Nice guy and all that kind of stuff, but that could be the problem as well, because he's a nice guy. He's a guy that wants to have nice guys around him. He wants to get nice structure around. Yeah, it's week 2. It's not week 2 for Ryan Pauls. This is what, year 3? And we've extended him for another, I don't know how long it is. So this isn't a week 2 reaction. This is a reaction of a long-term scenario. There doesn't seem to be a plan. Jalen Johnson looks like he's out for the season, and we are done defensively. We concede 52 points to a divisional rival. So in 5 quarters of football, we've conceded what? 74 points? 75, whatever it is. Like, this is the team he built. No more excuses on the past, no more cap space issues, no more any of those. This is his team that he built and he created and set up this roster. And I'm sorry, this is just like It's beyond a rant at this stage. Not good enough. Not good enough franchise stuff. The fans don't deserve this. The city of Chicago and all the other people that are around the world watching this or watching that don't deserve to see what they're put on the field. And we'll get into Ben Johnson later on and give him a bit of a pass because it's his second game in a new scheme, blah, blah, blah. But Ryan Pauls picked those players with that attitude who gave up, who literally gave up for the second game in a row. And yeah, as it comes to Ange France, I asked the question to everybody. Who's worse, Pace or Pauls?
I swear to God, I've had enough of this shite.
Yeah, listen, I wholeheartedly agree with 99.9% of that. It's absolutely abysmal. I've got an article coming out for Bear Report tomorrow morning, in which I question why we aren't playing our top draft picks. You know, we look at Colston Loveland, a guy that came in with all this reputation, a guy who's going to change the dynamic of your offense. He's not a usual tight end. He's a big receiver, all this kind of stuff. 3 targets in 2 games for 1 reception. You know, it's bizarre. You know, the guy is not being involved. Now, we know that tight ends can take some time to get going for whatever reason. Partly, usually, it's due because they're learning how to block while also learning how to be a receiver. But the type of tight end that Loveland is less blocking and more just receiving. For me, it just strikes me that for some reason, I don't know why, Ben Johnson is not finding ways to use him at the moment. You know, and this is the other thing as well, and I'll come back to this later on as well. No one's exempt from criticism. You know, this Ben Johnson love fest has now to finish because it's now started, and everybody has to be held accountable. That's not to say that I don't like Ben Johnson or he's not going to do things. That's not the point. The point is that everybody has to be accountable for everything that happens with this team. We talk about accountability. We've been talking about accountability for weeks, and right now, accountability is not happening, but has to be for everybody. Luther Burden, taken at the top of the second round, could have been a first-round pick. He's had, 2 or 3 targets as well over the last 2 games. The first game, I think, actually, there wasn't much happening. He was used as a returner. Did really well with the return game. Then stopped being used as the returner. Did it a couple of times. He returned four kicks yesterday. Averaged about 30 yards per return. Really, really good return on that. But in terms of the offense, hardly anything again. This is a guy that we can see the athleticism, the skills. Why is he not being used? It's curious. And then the biggest thing for me out of that situation was what you said as well. 2 healthy scratches. Shamar Turner, your second round defensive tackle, and Ozzy Trapilo, your second round potential left tackle of the future. Nothing at all. Didn't even suit up. And last week, Shamar Turner didn't suit up either. Trapilo didn't play a single offensive snap. 5 special team snaps. For me, that's an issue. If the top 4 guys that you've taken in this draft are not contributing immediately, that's a problem. Now you can let it go a little bit with guys in the 3rd and the 4th and the 5th round. Fair enough, right? But even then, they're not really getting much out of this either. Ryan Pauls has to be held accountable for this, in my opinion. And I'll ask you as well in terms of Pauls and what he's done. But I had a look at earlier on, and Pauls is between 2022, 2023, and 2024. Pauls has drafted, I think, 26 players. And of that 26, I think it was 7 or 8 have become regular contributors or semi-regular contributors, and the rest have all gone by the wayside. He's never had a Pro Bowl player in the time that he's been here between draft picks and free agents. There's a lot of questions here, and listen, this is nothing new. And you and I have gone on about this for a while. I think you were anti Pauls remaining, but he's had this 5-year contract put in place now. He's now in his 4th year. We could potentially be looking at close to a decade of Ryan Pauls at this point, because the Bears, they're going to be stubborn. They're not going to sack him unless they really, really need to, and it's certainly not going to happen anytime in the next couple of seasons. where do we go from here? Because Ryan Poles has had a lot of time to prove what he could do.
Yeah, the non-Pro Bowl, I was watching the Dallas Cowboys documentary on Netflix, actually really good, by the way. Watching the Dallas Cowboys documentary, and Jerry Jones, who'll be a lunatic, but Jerry Jones turned around and said, literally, if you don't, in your every single draft season, you should pick one Pro Bowler if you want to be successful. So whether that's a first round, seven, it doesn't matter. One Pro Bowler is what you need, right? And they need to be developed by the coaching staff. You just put the nail in the head, man. Into his fourth year, he's drafted zero. No one close. Like there's no one in that team right now. Gary Von Dexter's been, you could argue, a success in the sense of there's definite trends in the right direction for him, to be fair. But outside of that, what else are we looking at that we could actually turn around and say, yeah, he drafted him, developed him? Braxton Jones? Not for me, not at all, right? Serviceable left tackle. There's like Caleb was a first round pick, number one pick. He hasn't developed fully yet. Maybe that'll turn into it, but that's a number one pick, right? Roman Dunze was a number 9 pick, and last year wasn't really shown as much as he should do. Definitely getting better now, but like that's 3, right? You could be like, I see Lee said about Brisker. Not for me, man. He's not a Pro Bowler. He isn't. Very gives his all. One of the only players yesterday that actually gave his all. Don't deny that. But he's not a Pro Bowler. He just isn't. And we've got a depth in talent in this team, which is so unbelievable to say, considering a week and a half ago I was going on about how they could win 9-10 games. That's the joy of being a Bears fan. But you look at it yesterday. That's inexcusable for those players. Inexcusable. And then for every single fan to hear that Jalen Johnson's probably out for the year, and every one of us to have the exact same reaction we did. That's the season done, based on a cornerback. Because we know what'll happen. Tariq Stevenson was awful. And he got targeted by the Lions. And then you got Nashawn Wright on the other side, who, did a pick 6 last week, but before that was getting creamed. And then you got McLeod after that, is it? Like, I mean, we are depths of what it is, right? Again, Lee, I get it. Gordon could be. Kyler can't stay fit. He can't stay fit. Like, how many games has he been injured? Like, out with, like, hamstrings and all this. He can't stay fit. Right? And could be was the part that you said. He could be, but he's not. Ryan Poles has had this team for 3, nearly 4 years, and he's not produced a Pro Bowler. He should have. Maybe. We never know. Caleb might be. Kyler might be. Braxton Jones might be. But, like, it is on Poles. I'm sorry, the injuries that are there, it's on the whole team, and I said that at the start. It's not just Ryan Poles involved in this. Ben Johnson was in the room. Other coaches in the room. All those coaches are picked to decide on who should be where they should be, based 100% based on the selective ability of them as a group to pick players. And they have failed. They've actually failed on picking players. So that's where we are right now. We could win next week. We could win the next week after. It'd be 2-2 and all that kind of stuff. Everything's rosy. It's not. Because literally you found a scenario, for me anyway, you found a scenario where it's just become very, very difficult for me to justify what's there. Now, that's all the negative stuff I want to get out of. It's not actually. There's loads more to come. But there's positives there that is there. And I want to ask you this, Tony. Caleb looked better last night. He looked better. The offense as a whole looked improved from what it was against Minnesota, which is what we're asking for. So let's not talk about the defense for a second. We're going to get on to that, I'm sure, when Kaitlin gets on. But from an offensive perspective on the football, Caleb looked a lot better in the pocket. The touchdown was very good. The fourth down misses, they weren't misses, they were fourth down runs that we missed. There was a fumble by Swift after we got the ball down the field. To be fair, it's a great play by Branch more than Swift dropping the ball out. But we looked a little bit better. There was a little bit of signs in the first half as to what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I think offensively, certainly in the first half, it was pretty decent. The thing with Caleb is I've never really actually thought for a minute that he's the problem. We've talked about it already. He's a developing quarterback in a system that's complicated, and a system with particularly long verbiage. It takes some time to get used to. All new players coming together, mostly a new offensive line, new receivers in there as well. It's going to take a bit of time. and we've kind of preached patience for as long as I can remember this off season. So I think we stick by that. I think in terms of the offense itself, it definitely did improve from last week. I think a big part of that was they got the run game going a little bit more than they did in the previous week, which opened things up. We weren't as one dimensional, and that really helped. So you look at this loss, and it's definitely you can't point to Caleb and say he's the problem. And by putting, I mean, I can see people in the chat talking about Tyson Bagent, which is utter nonsense. You put Tyson Bagent in, this is not making any difference to the team. Bagent is not as good a quarterback as Caleb Williams, and that's just the cold, honest truth. Caleb is going to be very, very good in this league. It's just taking a little bit of time to get there for a variety of different reasons, some of which is, on him. A lot of it isn't. But there's a lot going on there. In terms of, sorry, I've just had an update from Kaitlin there. She's going to be on in about 10 minutes. So hold on, guys, and she'll be on shortly. There's a lot of concerns though in terms of the offense. Outside of Caleb looking like he had a decent game, and the run game got going a little bit. There was a lot that not to like. Now, obviously, you had the Caleb interception, which you don't want. That was a terrible throw, stupid mistake. In that situation, you just throw the ball away. Don't try and be Superman. And we all know that that's an issue with Caleb. Has been for a while. Just needs to get that under control. The fumble on the run was horrific as well. The big one for me though is the turnover and downs. Three times we had to turn the ball over on downs because we weren't able to move the ball efficiently enough at that point. And they always talk about how if you win the turnover battle, you win the game. I think even if we hadn't had those turnovers, we'd probably still got beat yesterday because the defense was so atrocious. And then we punted the ball 4 times as well. Do you know what I mean? So there weren't a huge number of drives offensively. But we weren't as efficient enough in each of the drives for definite, and that was a huge disappointment. Just to come back to the point you made about guys that Poles has sort of drafted, and I think if you look back, and there's obviously a discussion in the chat about who's been successful in terms of draft picks. I mean, from the first draft. I think you definitely include Jaquan Brisker as a successful pick. I think he's proven that when he stays healthy and stays fit, he can be a contributor on the team, and I think he is. Obviously, you've got Kyler Gordon there. Again, though, the problem is when he's fit, then he can contribute on the team. It's not always happening. And then the third person from that 2022 draft is Braxton Jones, who, in my opinion, shouldn't be the left tackle of the Chicago Bears at this current time. I think you've seen yesterday. He struggled mightily, and I'm not saying that Ozzy Trapilo should have been the replacement for him, but they effectively took him in the second round with the idea of changing him to a left tackle. So maybe he should, maybe he should be in there. Maybe he should be getting more opportunities. It's a strange one for me. 2023, you've got Darnell Wright now. Darnell Wright at this moment in time looks like it's a good pick, but then again, there's still bits and bobs that happen throughout the game that you think we can't be making these mistakes. There's still a lot of false starts happening there. The pre-snap penalties continued to be an absolute nightmare yesterday, on top of all the other penalties that we had as well, which wasn't ideal. Gervon Dexter, another guy in the same class, looks like he's going to be a good one, but again, yesterday, nothing really happening. Tyreek Stevenson, again, he's a guy that I've already made my mind up about in his third year. I'm quite happy for us not to have to rely on him. Unfortunately, we didn't make any significant moves at corner in the off-season, and we should have. And now we're in a situation where Jalen Johnson has effectively been rushed back from injury before he's fit. I mean, they've said today that this is a different injury. But I don't know if I believe that. I think that he's been rushed back too early. And then last season, Caleb Williams and Roma Dunze are your only two that you could sit and go, yeah, those guys are either contributing at the moment or will be players in the future. But outside of that, you think of all the other players that Ryan Poles has taken. in his tenure here at the Bears. That's not a lot back on that sort of thing. It's really disappointing. You kind of theme of the bad. My issue was, again, like a pass rush. I think that is still an issue. We had a decent week last week, but then you had Dio Odeyingbo going up against a second string left tackle. He got exposed this week. He couldn't do the same thing. We've got nothing coming from that defensive line whatsoever. Is my Wi-Fi doing something, guys, by the way? Because I've just seen this.
Yeah, you were doing a bit of a cut in, cut out. It was lovely. It reminded me of old times. It's a bit like watching the Bears.
Back.
I get it, and I don't want it all to be complete doom and gloom, because I got to remember that 2 weeks ago, I was all jumping up and down that this team has developed, and we got the head coach we wanted, and we got the coaches that we wanted. They have a big job this week. They have a massive job this week. It's people, I think, have given Dennis Allen a bit of a pass, if I'm honest. He's defensive coordinator with 52 points against him, having had 21 points in the fourth quarter the week before. Look, I'll say this, and I mean this. Minnesota Vikings and Detroit Lions are two of the best teams in football. I know Minnesota Vikings are ass-handed yesterday, but they are. Minnesota Vikings are a very, very good defensive football team. They've got some real good weapons. Yeah, their quarterback is a rookie. I get that. Detroit Lions will be up there to win the Super Bowl again. That's not even my point. My point, what the anger I have for this one is, I thought the days of us quitting and the players giving up and finishing out and not wanting to get involved and switching off completely were done. And unfortunately, it's not the case. It's back again to the same thing, and it's back again to just being opened up like the big, huge plays that Ben Johnson was talking about in his presser. Oh, we gave big plays. Yeah, we did, but they were embarrassing plays. Like the Jameson Williams touchdown. That the exact same thing he did to us last year. Exact same. And it was not like Byard wasn't there. There was no backfield. There was no pressure on Jared Goff. We all know that Jared Goff, when he's got no pressure, is a world-class quarterback when he's got no pressure. But there's no scheme to put up to get pressure on him, because Packers did a week before. They just rushed him. And he, like any quarterback, but definitely Jared Goff, struggles under massive pressure. And he makes mistakes. And we just made him look like Patrick Mahomes. Like we just did. He sat there all day, and he had a great day, because you give a quarterback at that standard, that time, and that space, and those weapons, they're going to not just hurt you, they're going to embarrass you. And the other one, like, there was a hit on Caleb. I can't remember when it was. It was a hit on Caleb late, and he's lying on the ground. And no one did that. No fight. No taking your 15 yards and at least dumping somebody. No losing the head. And we've had this for 4 years. 4 years of this stuff for our quarterback. It was Justin Fields, or it was Andy Dalton, or it was Tyson Bagent, or Caleb last year. And we just sit back and watch it. Oh, yeah, sorry about that. There's no pride in the jersey. There's no pride in the professional outfit. And I'm sorry I am saying this. There was no pride last night. They gave up. And this is professional football players who are getting paid a hell of a lot of money. And I remember being on another one of our shows before and going mad because of that level of just quit. Just the quit element to it. And it's sad. And I'm sure these guys are professionals. I'm sure they really want to perform. So whether it's a confidence issue, whether it's a culture of losing, I don't know what it is. It's something that's there that seems to be connected to Hallis Hall or connected within the overall setup that's there. And it's frustrating. It's massively frustrating. You still there, Tony? Have I lost you completely? I think your Wi-Fi is dead. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kick Tony out and replace Tony with someone much cooler than Tony. Sharky, how are you doing?
How you doing? I feel bad for Tony. He got the boot, but
he got kicked. He got kicked out. He shaved his beard, and it's like Samson. He lost all his power in his beard, also known as his Wi-Fi. How are you?
I'm still coming down from that experience that was Detroit. There's always chaos and always bad news, unfortunately, coming out of Detroit when you're covering the Chicago Bears. So back in studio today and kind of, just rehashing everything that went wrong. And there was plenty that went wrong yesterday.
Well, literally, all I can say is I have a 3-year-old daughter, and she was unfortunately sick last night, so I didn't have to get to watch it live, right? But I'm a sick person, so I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning before work and watched it before work, right? Which can only be described as interesting. My poor girlfriend had to sit there and listen to me going, Jesus, Jesus, oh, for the love of God, no, right? Even though she was like, you know the score, you know what happened, what's wrong with you? We kind of touched on it on the offensive side of the football just before you came on, but you can't go much further than 52 points in a game against Detroit, in a game in a divisional rival game, in a big matchup that you know they're going to be coming all guns for. 52 points isn't good enough.
No, it's not good enough. And I think, obviously, going into this matchup, I knew that the Lions were going to come in and try to send a message. So I wasn't even high on the Bears in this matchup to begin with, right? So you're already looking like, okay, this is going to be shaky for them. But I would not have anticipated the outcome that we saw. And I think for me, that's the worst part, because it just felt like, the offense, maybe took some strides and things like that, but it was the same type of football that we had seen last season and the season before. And I think it's a good reminder. Unfortunately, it's a harsh reminder that when Ben Johnson took this job, there was still a million things that needed to be fixed. This was a work in progress organization. And I think sometimes it's very easy to get caught up in like, okay, we have this new head coach. He's supposed to fix everything. And while he tries to fix everything, it's starting to become a look at where does this roster stand? Who is on this roster? Where is the level of talent on this roster? And I think yesterday was a very clear indicator of like, you know what? This roster may not be as good as you think it is on paper, because these guys haven't performed to a level of the expectation. Because one of my friends called me after the game yesterday, and he's like, on paper, the Bears should be a phenomenal football team. And I said, that's the problem. I think like a lot of times we get caught up in like the acquisitions and the players that they have and the players that we think they should be. And then they can never just get those players to play the way that their potential should be. So I think it's a reminder that this team is far ways from this division. I mean, they're a work in progress, and it's going to take some time.
Kaitlin, how are you? Sorry, my Wi-Fi totally. I don't know what happened there. It's actually a running joke with my Wi-Fi, to be honest with you. In Scotland, they actually have little hamsters running on a wheel. It's not that's all it is. But anyway, so listen, you mentioned it yourself. Like, this team, we won the off season again. Everything was sunshine and roses, and everything was falling in the right places and all this kind of thing. But there was always that thing in the back of a lot of folks' minds that this is the Bears. And historically, this doesn't usually happen very easily or quite as quickly for us. Are you surprised at just how different the outcome is to the expectations? Now, I know this is only week 2. We've got a long way to go. But for me, I'd always said we need to kind of have patience with the offense. Let it grow, let it become what it needs to become. It's going to take a few weeks to get there. The defense, on the other hand, was a side of the ball that I thought, we can rely on that until we get there. But overall, where are you with the team in particular in reference to how it's being constructed and put together? Are there areas that we should have focused more on in the off season than we have? And there's their money being allocated to areas where it's maybe not justified?
I think the areas of need were addressed, but maybe the talent evaluation maybe was off. And I think, from the jump yesterday, when the inactive list came out and 2 second rounders and Shamar Turner and Ozzie Trapillo are healthy scratches, you're going to yourself like, what? This is they were drafted to make a difference. They were drafted to make an immediate impact. That's why you go out and get guys like this. Adding guys like Grady Jarrett and Dio Dangbo and things like that they addressed. I'm talking about defensively. I think, and even Ben Johnson was just talking momentarily about like Montez Sweat, and he had a better game than his stat sheet would have shown. Still, there are no sacks. He would have had that sack if the penalty wouldn't have negated it. But let's say no sacks, no quarterback hits, no pressure. I mean, those are issues that they had all last season, and being able to stop the run and things like that. Jared Goff looks so comfortable. So I think when you look at this roster, I think they address the right positions. I'm still a little unsure if they addressed the right positions when it came to running back. I was still not entirely solid on the running back position coming in this season. But I think it's a matter of, is Ryan Poles deciding which talent is the right talent, which guys are the right guys for his team. And I think defensively, I think it was shocking for me. I mean, you knew it was going to be rough when you lose Jalen Johnson. He wasn't even at full health when he came into the game. So when you lose him, you lose TJ Edwards, who also wasn't at full health. And then Kyler Gordon. I mean, those are major pieces of your defense. And I'm not making excuses for this Bears defense, because 52 points is just unacceptable no matter who's out there. But I think that played a role. And then maybe those guys up front aren't as gritty as maybe we thought they were, or Ryan Poles thought they were. So I think there's major roster construction glaring issues right now.
I also think as well, there's a culture within this whole organization. From the very top, we still haven't seen anything about a stadium. There's nothing being dug up on the ground. You've got a general manager who literally picks individually rather than looking at the holistic approach of, well, what are we going to do now to get the defense better to this? They just seem to throw things together and let's pray that we've got this sorted. Then to a head coach who's in his second game as head coach, got all these coaches around him, but still has a player group that is used to losing. They're used to losing. So when it gets close, when it gets tight, Minnesota Vikings is a perfect example. Kevin O'Connell has won I don't know how many percentage of games when it's one score, right? Mm-hmm. When it's one score, he seems to find a way, or the team finds a way, and they have a confidence that we're going to win this. We're going to find a way to win this game, because that's what we've done all along. With the Bears, they go down 2 scores, and everybody, the fans, the players, and unfortunately, by the looks of it, the coaching staff all go, well, these guys aren't going to have it. Mm-hmm. And what I found interesting was Ben Johnson in his press conference. And I don't know what he could have said. I really don't. But he comes out in the press conference afterwards and said, I believe in you guys. I believe in my team. I believe in them. I'm like, it's week 2. You shouldn't be saying stuff like that in week 2. Like, that's something you say in week 9, week 10, week 11 when you're like 3-6. You're like, oh, I'll do it then. Am I miles off with this? Is this a Bears cultural thing within the whole of Hallis Hall that almost needs to just be removed and restarted with Theo Bennett at left tackle? Just someone else that's different.
Yeah, I think it's the need, and I think you touch on it, Ant. Like, they don't have like just this winning culture mentality that is kind of it's seen and unseen, right? Like, you think of teams that have winning culture, like obviously they win games. That's the obvious. There's not any of that feeling around Hallis Hall. And, even watching the game yesterday, I'm like, they have no, like, if you want to play, like, not dirty, but like you want dogs, you want gritty guys, you want tough guys, like in your face, like the Lions, basically, like Dan Campbell, biting kneecaps type of culture. The Bears don't have those guys. So even if Ben Johnson coming into Chicago was like, this is what I want, and even if Dennis Allen as his defense, like, I want an aggressive, you don't have those type of players. Fair and square. Like, it's unfortunate, but like looking around that locker room, there's nobody like that. And that's what they were searching for last season. So I think there needs to be, and when you talk about, him having to say, like, I believe in these guys in week 2, I think that's the most like, part where you, like, your heart kind of sinks, because you're like, what is ahead for this team? And I left Detroit yesterday going, okay, if Detroit's hanging 52 on you, like, you have to face the Packers 2 times, like the Vikings again, like, not to mention the Ravens and these other teams that are like down the schedule. And I think it's going to be, they're more far off than they thought. And unfortunately, you can't build a winning culture when you're just getting the doors blown off of you. Like, it's hard to keep guys. I think there's going to be, maybe now you start thinking, I'm like, are they going to be trading players away? Or are they going to be starting over again? Like, I don't even want to wrap my head around that or think about it, but it's the reality when you're thinking about, okay, well, if this was week 2, where are they going to be in week 8?
Yeah, that's the conversation we were having before you came on as well, was what are the trade moves that we could see happen? We're only in week 2. and we're already discussing this, which is bizarre. I'm hoping that this has been a blip, and we start kind of going in the right direction again. The team overall, though, we've seen obviously that we haven't been able to rush the quarterback. We're now missing our top corner. We don't have great depth at corner either. So the defense in itself is probably going to continue to go down that route of giving up a lot of points, and us not maybe able to rely on them just as much as we thought we could. So therefore, that's when the offense starts to become this thing where it has to now kick on. And for me, I actually have quite a good vibe about the offense, regardless of anything that happened yesterday. I thought we've seen improvements. I thought Caleb Williams looked very good for a lot of the game. I think he's getting through his reads. He's distributing the ball well. He's getting more accurate with his passes as well. I think things are going to start trending in the right direction with that whole setup on the offensive side of the ball. From your perspective, where are you with Caleb at the moment? And from what you're seeing with interactions, maybe in the locker room or wherever with other players, because there's always that sort of thing where are players vocally and publicly supporting their quarterback or whoever it is, but then behind the scenes, they're maybe really not into him that much. Like, where are you with Caleb Williams, and where do you think the other Bears players are with Caleb Williams?
I think he has the support of his offense. I think he has a lot of mouths to feed, as Ben Johnson put it a few weeks ago. And I think that's part of the offense and, the task for Ben Johnson to make sure that Caleb's in a position where he can be successful while also distributing to use all these playmakers that they went out and acquired. So I think Caleb has the support. I think he was better, no doubt, yesterday. There's still certain situations where, as a quarterback, you don't want to make bad plays worse. And he kind of finds himself in those situations where you're like, oh, like if it's like you see it kind of happening in front of you. But I think he has made progress. And like you guys said, we knew the offense was going to be a work in progress. The problem is now when you see what happened Sunday, you're like, this offense is not built to be a shootout type of offense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they're not built to be like, okay, well, now we got to go out there and sling another, they're just not there as a team and as an offense. And, they're not even going to be in position. They want to stick to the run more. They want to run the ball more. And I thought DeAndre Swift did a fine job yesterday too, until the fumble. But they want to get Kyle Monunga involved more. So it's like, you want to take this pressure off of Caleb. But when you're in situations where you're allowing 7 straight touchdown drives, guess what, guys? You can't lean on the run to help Caleb. So I think they're going to find themselves, unfortunately, in that situation more often than not if this defense can't get its act together, because, you can't run the ball when you're down 20 plus points, 14 plus points. So I think Caleb obviously has a long way to go, but I think the chemistry sometimes seems like it's lacking at times with him and certain receivers. Obviously, we know Rome's his guy. Rome and him have been that way since he got here, and Rome got here. OZ, he has great chemistry with him. The chemistry or lack thereof with DJ is still kind of perplexing to me. They never look like they're on the same page. Yeah. And it's kind of like, how does this is wide receiver 1, this is your star receiver, and this is your quarterback. So that one's still, to me, I'm like, oh, they just can't get it together. And then you look at, the lack of tight end use. So I think it was a combination yesterday too. And people are like, oh, Caleb did this or he didn't do that. Yeah, well, when you're down 45-14,
yeah,
not a whole lot you can do as the quarterback to try to go out there and play catch up. And especially when your backup quarterback's coming in for the final 7.5 minutes.
Yeah, when your team concedes 76 points in 5 quarters, you're not really going to do much. This is something I can't believe I'm going to say. So trust me on this one. This hurts me more than anything else. But Matt Eberflus was a damn good defensive coordinator. Is a damn good defensive coordinator. Did he? Oh, God, I could feel my inner body nearly exploding. Did Matt Eberflus? Are we missing Matt Eberflus as a defensive coordinator for Chicago Bears?
I don't want to go out so far to say, well, it's hard. Okay. Right. Cause all we can think about is Matt Eberflus, the head coach. And obviously that was a failed plan. Matt Eberflus, the defensive coordinator, his defense was better, no doubt. they still they couldn't bring any pressure to the quarterback, and they still couldn't stop the run. So I think it was a matter of like, how much was that of Eberflus? How much of that, again, was the roster construction? How the talent on the roster? Do they have enough guys to like, was Dio Dangbo your splash move to bring in opposite of Montez Sweat? I'm not so sure about that. So, I mean, it's Flus week here in Chicago. Like, we were leaving Detroit. We're like, I cannot believe now they have to face their former head coach, who's the D coordinator in Dallas. And I'm like, what if Flus comes in and shuts the Bears out? Like, this city will burn to the ground. I'm like worried about it. But I think no doubt he was a great coordinator. I think he had a great coordinator's mind. It's 2 weeks into the season, so it's like you try to watch what Dallas is doing, and you're like, well, I still see some of the Flus that we know from his time in Chicago, but it's going to be a tall task for Dennis Allen. And Dennis Allen was annoyed with us last week in the press conferences, still asking about the game prior. So I'm already mentally preparing for how annoyed Dennis Allen's going to be with us on Thursday when we're asking about the week prior, because you can't just. I know it's week 2 and they got a lot of season to go, but you can't just ignore a 52-point, your defense allowing 52 points. You can't ignore that.
I'm just going to follow up, Tony, just before you go. I'm going to follow up on that because for me as well about last night, which was unbelievably annoying, and I don't blame them, by the way, was Detroit's celebrations and Detroit's just enjoyment of the moment, which I get. If I'm a Detroit Lions fan, I am loving every second of that. And I actually don't blame Detroit Lions for the fourth down play. Campbell has every right to do that. The players can celebrate whatever way they want. That's fine. My issue is that our players seem to go, okay, not a bother. And that goes back to your whole point around the culture within the organization.
Yeah, they don't have those guys that are just, they're not.
Imagine Urlacher. Urlacher I'd say he would have ate somebody, if I'm honest. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, you make a great point. And I think that, again, shows the disparity between the Bears and a lot of teams, good teams in the NFL. Like, they didn't have that, like, there was already a buzz prior to the lead up, St. Brown saying we're going to boo them. And, and that's people don't realize that's game strategy. That's already like putting that out there. So players kind of see players hear it. Ben hears it. No, I'm not saying it affects them, but like, that's a real thing. Like, that's a very like, you know what? We're going to come out and we're going to smack you in the mouth. And that's exactly what they did. And we're going to like throw it in your face in our celebrations and things like that. The Bears, granted, haven't had the success to kind of act that way, but they're also just not wired that way. So I think I'm not surprised that they acted that way. And Ford Field was so intensely loud. So, it was quite the atmosphere.
The atmosphere was the one thing that I was so excited for, though. Like, and I know you're going into Ford Field and you're trying to play offense and you can't hear anything and all that kind of stuff. But that's the sort of games as a professional football player that you want to be in. You want to be involved in that kind of high octane stuff. And it's just unbelievable how disappointing the team were in terms of showing up on that. Ant brought up Matt Eberflus for some reason. I don't know why. He just brought back horrible memories for me. But let's not forget, guys, that the reason why Matt Eberflus was allowed to stick around for so long and be so unsuccessful was because Ryan Poles allowed this to happen. I have a lot of concerns about Ryan Poles. I have concerns about him being given a contract extension. I don't know if I think he should be there, to be honest with you, at the moment. Where are you, Kaitlin, with Ryan Poles in terms of what he's done? Because he's currently sitting at a winning record of 29.8% or something over the last 3 years, which is abysmal. In terms of the players that he's brought in the draft in particular, I think he's in the first 3 seasons, I'm not going to include 2025. In the first 3 seasons, he drafted something like 26 players, and of that 26, there's maybe about 7 or 8 who are semi-regular or regular contributors on the team. A lot of red flags there. What's your general feeling with Poles, and And what do you think the feeling around Chicago is with him as well?
I think it's starting to be, polls is starting to be a concern. I, from the jump, thought the extension was a little early and a little premature. And I understand, like, I look at it like, I'm not saying I can go be a general manager of a National Football League team. Like, I'm not saying that, but it's easy to be like, well, you have the number 1 pick. Who are you picking? It's easy to be like, he had Ben Johnson is available to be your head coach. You're going to hire Ben Johnson. Those moves weren't moves that like Ryan Poles discovered and like he brought on and like all of these things. So you set those aside and you're like, okay, so what has he done? Because everybody else would have drafted Caleb Williams and hired Ben Johnson as the head coach. So it's like, what have you done to show that you deserved an extension? And I don't think he's done. I don't think he's drafted very well. I think he's given a little bit too much time and a little too much leeway in the coaches that he had on the staff previously, in the coordinators he had on the staff previously. Like, it was just dysfunction on top of dysfunction, and he was at the helm of it. And I think he's running out of time necessarily from a trusting standpoint in the fan base. And I think there's no doubt, you're telling me he wasn't sitting up there yesterday at Ford Field, a row behind me, going, all right, well, I'm going to start to feel the heat a little bit. And not that I think maybe McCaskey or Kevin Warren will do anything to Ryan Poles at this point. Like, it's 2 weeks into the season, but there are serious concerns because he's had some big misses. And like I said, outside of drafting Caleb Williams and hiring Ben Johnson, moves that most people would have made in his shoes, what have we seen that makes him a general manager worthy of an extension at this point? So I think there's a lot more to show. His record, Tony, you said it speaks for itself, and the pressure is on.
Yeah,
Accountability. It doesn't just stop at the players, guys. It needs to go to the top, right to the top.
I-
Sorry, Anne, apologies.
I'd keep going if I were you. Keep going to the Warren and the Anyway, I'll be here all day if I start really getting into that. Kaitlin, thank you so much for coming on and your time in taking. Before we go anywhere else, where can people listen to you? Where can people see you? Where can people get involved with your amazing takes on our Chicago Bears?
You can see me on WGN and GN Sports at 10:30. And if you're not in Chicago and able to watch WGN, you can watch it on WGN.com or the WGN Plus app. And then you can follow me on my socials. I'm at @KRoseSharkey. You guys are the best. It was good to see you. Catch up again.
Brilliant stuff. Talk to you soon, my dear. Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
Cheers.
That was great.
There we
One
go.
of our first,
That was fun.
when we were on our show way back, she was one of the first people on. She always jumps on. She's got an Irish connection. I think it's her dad is Irish as well. So really great to have her on the show and get her perspective. And I love the fact that Ryan Poles was a row behind her at the game, because if it was me, I may have commented. So lucky that I'm never allowed.
I wouldn't have been able to. I wouldn't have been able to hold my tongue. And to be honest with you, I would have said something. I would have said something.
I would have said something. I would have said a lot. Interesting things that she said though as well. Go on.
What I was going to say is I would have said something if I was there in a fan capacity. I absolutely would have said something, but I can understand the guys that are there in the press box that you can't see. But interestingly enough, and I don't know if you know this, when I was in the press box for the game in London last year, you were not allowed to cheer when the Bears scored. You had to remain impartial, and I found that incredibly difficult to do.
There's no way on earth. There's no way on earth. That's the reason why I was in the stand. That's why I was in the stand with the real people. Me and my real. No, I was in there. Someone asked me for a photograph. It's great crack. Before we go any further, right? I find this amazing that she was talking about. Almost you can hear the frustration in her voice as well about what she's seeing. And what's going on in Chicago, and same to you, Jim, my good man. And it's been interesting. I have an interesting day coming for me tomorrow. Do you want to know what my interesting day tomorrow is?
What's happening?
So tomorrow, I promise I'd say it. My poor little doggy is getting something chopped off.
A leg, maybe, or an ear.
No, let's all pray that it's a male dog. So I'll just leave it at that. So prayers out to him. Right,
sorry, hold on. Just to clarify, is he getting something chopped off or something snipped?
Snipped.
Okay.
Snipped. Right. Yeah, chopped off, same thing. Poor lad's getting snipped. So look, prayers out to him. All right, he was running around the house earlier on, loving life. I feel for him. It's a bit like the Bears. That's what I was thinking. It's a bit like the Bears. So poor Chip was thinking like 2 weeks ago he was loving life, everything's great, and then suddenly life comes at you quick. So
The Bears are playing like a bunch of neutered bears. There's
correct.
absolutely nothing about them whatsoever. And it's a sad state of affairs. But listen, I hope your dog's all right. What's your dog's name, just out of interest?
Chip.
Ah,
So like
nice.
chocolate chip. So
Oh, yeah.
so it's
Did you have
it's
two
nice.
and one ran away?
No,
Or...
so that's the full name, chocolate chip.
Oh,
So
right,
he's
okay.
Jack Russell. So he's Jack Russell looks a little bit like a cookie. So
Ah,
and there's another dog called Cookie that we know. So chocolate chip is what we meant.
good on.
So yeah, that's so he's a little Jack Russell, loves life, runs around. It reminds me a little bit of who would I say he'd be like? It's a bit like I don't know.
Yourself?
No, yeah, a bit like me actually. He walks
A wee
into
Jack
things as well.
Russell that runs around
And
and
has
loves it.
less hair, and he's very, very clumsy. So that's similar to me, if I'm completely honest. But look, super dog, love him to bits. Great dog. Yeah, thanks, Dave. I'll make sure to pass that on. Chocolate chip getting the snip. Pretty much, it's a sad day in my household, and yeah, that's all I have to say. No comment more than that. Dallas Cowboys. Before we go, can't wait. Lee is on fire. Never coming on this show, Lee. Please don't leave us.
I mean, I don't see it. Like, I mean, do you know what a cannoli is?
No idea. But whatever it is, it's not nice.
I had a cannoli.
Not nice. What
I
is
was in I was just random chat now because we're at the end of the show. I was in New York a couple of years ago, and I got a cannoli in the Little Italy area because they were having this mad San Gennaro festival. Do you ever seen The Godfather?
Yes.
When they're carrying Jesus or Mary around on like a big thing, and everybody's pinning money to people. We were at that, except a couple of years ago, and I got a cannoli from the Cannoli King. Shout out to the Cannoli King, and it was fantastic. One of the and the cannolis you get over here are nothing on that. Really good
What
stuff.
is a cannoli?
It's like a wee pastry thing with cream inside it, and it's like a roll sort of thing.
And Lee thinks I
Look
look
it
like Lee looks like I look like a creamy roll. Thanks, Lee. Appreciate that. That's lovely. Now, Cowboys Sunday.
Cowboys Sunday. I'm really worried, if I'm being honest with you. I've lost all confidence in anything at the moment because I just don't
Your
really
beard
know.
as well.
I didn't even shave. It just fell out because of the stress. I don't even know what Bears team is going to turn up. Do you know? Like, in my mind, I think the offense has got to progress again. It's got to take the next step because it's going to be a week-on-week thing. We're going to get better week on week, and I think that's going to happen. I think that the offense is going to look a bit better again than it did last week. It's in Chicago. Yep. As Dean's pointing out there are enough Cowboys in Chicago as it is. You're absolutely spot on. You've spurred me on with that comment. But yeah, I think we're in Chicago. We have to try and make a point. We have to try and come back as a team and rally. On the defense, though, those guys that we paid big money to need to step up. Grady Jarrett, Montez Sweat, Dayo Odeyingbo, whatever the fuck his name is. All of these guys need to step up and make a positive impact in this game. The fact that we're going to be mentioning we're going to be without rather.
Lee on the show. I gotta get Lee on the show.
I've been trying to get Lee on the show for ages.
Lee, come on the show for the love of God. Sorry, Tony, I interrupted you.
No, you're rude. It's fine. The fact that we're going to be without Jalen Johnson is a huge issue. We saw what happened after he came out of the game. It all just fell to bits in that defensive back area. So we need to have someone step up. Hopefully we have Kyler Gordon back this week, and that'll be the start of it. I would continue to play Kyler Gordon in the slot because that's his strength. I wouldn't move him out to the outside. I think we probably have to just run with Nashon Wright again. But there has to be a move at that position, surely. Do you see that happening? I mean, I looked at the free agents, and it's not good viewing, lads. There's not a lot to choose from out there. So you're going to have to make a move, which means that Ryan Poles is inevitably going to piss a fucking second rounder away on whatever the cornerback equivalent is of
Chase Claypool.
Chase Claypool. So that's where we're at the minute.
I think for me, look, I say it again, Dallas Cowboys aren't as good as Minnesota Vikings or the Detroit Lions. They're not, right? They put 40 up at the weekend, but they're not as good as those two teams. They're a bit flaky. They haven't got Parsons anymore. I'm not sitting here thinking we're going to win, but I think we're going to be better. One thing that is going to be interesting is how the players react to the coaching ticket this week and how the coaching ticket react to them. I wasn't really happy with Ben Johnson's comments after the game. It's week 2, as I said to Kaitlin. I didn't like that. I really didn't like his answer. And suppose he said it in the locker room as well, because I think Roma Dunze said it in one of his press. I know Caleb said in his press conference how he went around and told everyone how he still believes in him. I don't like that. Sometimes I think people need to be held accountable, which Ben said it. He should have been calling these guys out. That's not good enough as a professional football player in the NFL. It's just not. And I just think that was needed. A kick up the arse was needed rather than a hand around the shoulder at that moment. Because this team
is that not symptomatic though of how players are today? It's all this softly sort of approach to things, and come here, pal, and everybody gets an award for taking part. I think this is the culture that's been bred, unfortunately, in a lot of these teams. And the Bears, I've said this already today, but we've heard about how they're going to be making everybody accountable, and how you've got like guys like Eric Bieniemy in there, and it's going to be guys, are they actually going in there and kicking arse? Like, see, end of the day, right? See if they're coming out publicly and saying, I've told everybody that they're fucking great and everything's grand, then fine. But behind the scenes, they have to be saying, actually, no, you're all shite. You need to get your act together. And actually bollock them. That's what needs to be happening. I seen Lance Briggs talking about it on another show. Was it today or yesterday? I don't remember. And he was talking about how people will react. And he did say that folk like Lovie Smith would continue to tell you that
you're gone and you're dying.
But
the hamster's gone slow.
You have to have in the rocker with the coaches. You have to play.
The hamster has died.
Run faster.
You need to put more money in the hamster's wheel there.
Fucking hamster.
Right. I think that's the perfect scenario when Tony is mid rant, which we should do with Tony's rants. That would be it. We got Ant's rants. Do something with Tony. Tony's despair or something. We should come up with something for him. But I just think this weekend, I think we'll see a lot more. I think the offense has to stay out in the field more. I think the offense really has to work a lot more on how we approach that. I think we need to get more movement in keeping the football, running the football. I think we'll get a chance to do that against the Dallas team that does still give up points. I think we will do that. I think we haven't even touched on Carlos Santos and special teams, but we need to do a lot more on what that looks like. And overall, I think it'll be closer. I think we'll be a better team. I think we'll still concede 30 points. Question is whether the offense is going to score 31 or not. And I think it's going in the right direction towards that. I think there definitely improvements. Yeah. Pre-snap penalties. Yeah. We don't know about our left tackle, but I think that's against, again, as I said, two really, really good defenses in the Vikings and the Lions. We won't play those two teams for a while now. So the next few games are against teams with good NFL defenses, but nowhere near as good as the Lions or the Vikings. So we need to take advantage of that. At least give ourselves a chance. Now, if I'm the Cowboys, I'm looking at that and I'm going, happy days. I'm going to just destroy them. So I think changes. I agree. Actually, totally agree with Lee. Change is going to be made. Like for me, I would be looking to take Darnell right out. He's no pressures and all that kind of stuff, but he set penalties over and over again. I'd be looking to put either Trapillo in there or Benedette, and I'd be looking to bring the rookie guard. I can't remember what's his name. Think of it in a minute. If Jackson's not going to perform, so I'd bring him in. So those are the kind of moves I'd make. I'd look to make. I'd get the ball in Loveland's hands. I'd get the ball in Burden's hands. I'd really focus on our development of those guys, and get Caleb with them. Zacchaeus, who Newman, great call. Zacchaeus, who I was raving about, suddenly there's nothing going to him. So we need to start getting him back on the ball. We need to get the space we will get, the time we will get against this defense. We need to maximize it and stay out in the field for a long period of time. If we do that and keep our defense off the field, I think we might have success tomorrow. Sunday. Not saying we're going to win, but I think we might have some success. And look, I just don't want it to be shit. I said it every week. I just don't want the Bears to be shit.
It's a late game as well next week, isn't it?
I know, which is actually good for me because I actually get to see it when everyone else falls asleep. But still, on TV and all that kind of stuff, and it's the Cowboys. And actually, shout out to the Irish Cowboys. Was messaging me this week. He said he might come on the show and do a bit of a crossover. Really good guy. Go check him out. Irish Cowboys. But
let's try and sort something out for later in the week. Maybe get him on. For
I must get him on. I'll give him a shout later on because he did say
the good thing about it being a late game though is that we can actually enjoy the 6 o'clock games. Whereas after that game on Sunday, I had no interest in watching any football the rest of the night. That was me done. It pissed me off that much that I couldn't sit and watch it. Although I really wanted to watch the Eagles and the Chiefs. I think I lasted like 15 minutes and then I was like, nah, I can't bored.
That did make me laugh that the Chiefs lost.
Ripping my neck, man. This whole thing. So, listen, guys, I'm gonna wrap this up because my Wi-Fi is doing my heat in. So let's leave it at that. I don't even know if you can hear me right now. I'm just talking.
No,
so,
you are. We can hear you loud and clear. The hamster's running.
Right. The hamster needs to go to bed. He said too much to drink. So, and let's wrap this up. We'll be back for definite next Monday. We might be back before then. We'll see how it goes. We would like to do a preview show. If you guys want us to do a preview show and I can get my internet working, then we'll definitely do one. And if the Irish Cowboys want to come on, then we definitely want you guys on as well. So let's make that happen. And thank you very much. Let's smile.
Thank you, Rob.
Let's hope it gets better. And
it can't get much worse.
Will. But guys, it can't get much worse. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to like the show, follow Anne, follow myself, follow the show, follow Kaitlin Sharkey, and make sure that you're checking in with us each week as well. But until next time, bear down and things have to get better.
Bear down.